Welcome to the Final Cut with Critical V, part of Geek TV, a new project by Lanka Comic Con. On this little show of ours, we're going to be talking about movies, specifically comic book movies, TV shows, and various forms of pop culture that have been influenced by comic books as of late. In this, our first episode, we're going to be talking about the impact of the MCU on the cinematic landscape. And for that reason, I've got Nuwan Sanjeewa Perera of Movieslinger Reviews fame. Welcome, Nuwan.
Thank you for inviting me.
Right, so the MCU. The impact over the last 11 years with its 23 plus movies is insane. Movie after movie, year after year, sometimes 3 to 4 movies in a year, and then so many spin-offs in various other media, for instance, games and TV shows. It's a massive franchise. What do you think about the impact so far?
The impact. Well, you can't, when you're talking about the MCU, right? You can't escape from talking about the financial aspect of it. Because now, Endgame just made $2.8 billion. The entire franchise, with its 23 movies, has made around $22.5 billion. Which, if you do the calculations, that's almost $1 billion per movie. That's how successful they are. And I think one of the main reasons is that they have managed to create this really strong brand image, right? So because of that, when people see the Marvel logo during a movie, they trust that. That's why they go check it out. That's why some of their characters, some of their kind of B-list, almost unknown characters, they still make money. Yeah. You look at something like Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Guardians of the Galaxy, a story about a bunch of wacky, space characters. There's a talking raccoon and a tree, and these really crazy characters. But that movie made almost $700 million. Now, of course, it was a good movie as well. But it made so much money, and that is something that's almost unheard of. But people trusted them because by that point, the MCU was established. It was post-Avengers. People knew what the MCU was. And so they trusted Marvel to deliver an entertaining movie. And so they have really created that, brand image. And you see now a lot of other people as well trying to mimic that success.
Yeah, to varying degrees of
success. But of course, people are trying that.
Yeah.
And that's because of what Marvel did with the MCU and how much money they're making.
Yeah, and Phase 1, 2, 3, collectively now known as the Infinity Saga by Kevin Feige, it has really made inroads into various other media as well. But we were talking about, how the public is now accepting of the MCU. As a movie critic, as a movie reviewer, not all the movies have been perfect, right?
Yeah.
There's some movies with gaping issues. Let's not even talk about time travel. That's just something that confounds me. But there have been some serious issues with certain movies. But there seems to be this tendency to, forgive the MCU. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think the main reason, even with its problems, right, there are some issues, but I think people still have fun with them because they have managed, to make movies that are fun to watch, have a good sense of humor, and has a team of really likable characters. I think they really did a really good job of establishing the hero characters really well, especially when you look at the Phase 1. They did a really good job. So you have Tony Stark, Thor, Captain America. They were established really well, and I think you have to really appreciate kind of what Joss Whedon did. Because with the first Avengers movie, he brought them all together. So, and I think that's a big reason. It's really fun to watch these characters interact. The dynamics between them, the conflicts between them. It's fun to see Tony Stark and Bruce working in the lab. And those are the most memorable moments.
The science bros.
Even though these are big action movies, it's not really the action that we remember. It's those little moments,
which Tony Stark have contributed to meme fodder.
Yeah, true. You see a meme almost every day. So I think the characters. I think that's one thing they really got right.
And it's also, I wouldn't say the action scenes aren't that powerful because I mean, those for me personally, them getting together. You talked about Avengers and that scene, right? That midway through the movie when they finally come into combat. In New York, when you have that beautiful
that long shot,
360,
like
yeah.
that goes
Moving
through, the
around
camera goes through
all
New York.
all
Yeah,
six
yeah, yeah.
Avengers. It's moments
No.
like that made my give goosebumps.
Yeah, true.
literally.
I'm not saying the action is bad. I'm saying
Yeah.
it's the character interactions that are really what what drive gets people into the theater.
And they also have perfected something else, how to continuously bring a story over
Multiple movies.
multiple movies, like 23 movies,
Yeah.
basically telling you an entire tale. If you collectively put them together,
yes,
they're all
true.
connected. So do you think it's all planning? Do you think it's all
Yes,
a lot of
a lot of planning. I think I mentioned the brand image, and I think the reason is that they have a good idea of what direction they're going in. They set a direction. Kevin Feige and the writers, they set a direction, and the team just heads that way. They all agree on it, and they just head that way. Now, of course, you can look at it in a good and a bad way as well. Now, good meaning they have done a really solid job of making sure that the tone and the stories are consistent between movies. Of course, sometimes you get clashes.
Yeah,
You get some, because I've noticed how whenever you have like a visionary director type person, it doesn't usually work out.
Yeah.
You have people like I think Ava DuVernay was supposed to do Black Panther, but then she walked away.
Yeah.
And very famously Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Yes.
Because I think what happened there was that when he wrote the script, the MCU was not established properly.
Yeah.
So that was pre-Avengers. So
Yeah.
I think after Avengers, they knew what they had.
Yeah.
And then Edgar Wright's script no longer fit into that.
Yeah.
And so they parted ways.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of directors like that who are kind of walking away because they're not getting the movie they want to make.
Yeah.
So,
But they still managed to, regardless, keep that sense of flow.
Yeah, of course. The stories all fit into each other, as you mentioned, like really well. So they do a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Of course, on one hand, that's really good, but then the creative part of me is like, oh, I wish I could have seen what he did.
What Edgar Wright had in mind.
Because most of the movies are Marvel movies.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see an Edgar Wright movie.
Yes. You're not going to see something like what they're doing with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
And the Joker.
Yeah, or something like Logan.
Yes.
That's so different from comic book movies. I doubt we'll see that.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, the movies are fun.
Yeah. I mean, Marvel has talked about, for instance, how do you integrate a character like Deadpool into
That'll
the
be very
MCU.
interesting.
And one thing I remember Kevin Feige saying was that they probably would insert him here and there for various movies and keep him
PG-13 for that.
But when he gets his own movie, which Alan Horn then later confirmed, it would not be diluted.
Okay.
It would be an R-rated
Let's hope
feature.
it stays that way.
Yes.
I mean, see, here's the thing. Deadpool is profitable. It made like $800 million. So you can have an R-rated Deadpool movie and still make money.
Exactly.
So let's hope they stay that way.
So the MCU's impact on the cinematic landscape also, like you mentioned, has pushed others to spun off their or make adventure into their own multiverses. Now, you had the DC expanded universe. Sad story of good intentions but bad execution, especially executive.
I think that's the difference. We talked about how Marvel has a good plan.
Yeah.
I think DC, they announced everything under the sun, but I don't think they had any idea how everything was going to fit together.
Yeah.
And I think they had part of a plan, let's say 12% of a plan. But Zack Snyder was the guy with the plan. And then at one point they realized that's not going to work out. So they had to ditch that. And then everything was a mess now. But I think they are on the rebound now.
See, now this might be something that a lot of fans might get a little peed off about, but I personally, I love certain aspects of Zack Snyder's visual style, but it's just too dark, man.
Okay.
And to be, this might be just a personal rough point, and maybe I'm banging an old bell that's been rung so many times, but Batman was just not Batman.
Okay.
To me.
Okay.
His motives, all that was just weird.
Okay.
And I kind of understand why people started getting worried.
I mean, personally, I actually did like what he did. Because I'm actually a big fan of Man of Steel and BVS. So I don't have a problem with that. And I kind of appreciated that it was different from what Marvel was doing. it was something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a problem with Batman. Okay,
Yeah.
I actually like that. But
Yeah.
but I think what they realized was, when BVS came out, it didn't make the kind of money they wanted.
That
People
didn't,
didn't respond to it the way they expected.
Yeah.
And then they realized, okay, they had to change course.
Why do you think that is? Was it because of the darkness? Was it the fact that Batman's carrying a gun? Or was it?
Well,
or
it's not just, on one hand, it is, the Superman was a little more serious than what people were used to.
Yeah.
That's one issue, because I've actually met a bunch of people who said that they prefer the classic Superman, and I understand that. Personally, I don't have a problem with Henry Cavill's version, but I understand what happened there.
Yeah.
But also I think it's another reason was that, especially when it comes to BVS, right?
Yeah.
They had a lot of things that general audiences would never understand.
A lot of fan service.
Right, a lot of fan service, but the fan service took a long time. Like, for example, if you look at the Nightmare sequence,
Yes.
they're showing the Omega symbol,
Yes.
they're showing parademons, and they're
Yes.
showing this alternate reality in only the second movie.
Yeah.
And if
And
you're
with
not
no
a fan,
reference.
if you're not a fan,
Yeah.
you don't understand what the hell is going on. And it's
Exactly.
like a 10-minute long sequence.
Yeah.
So if you're like a general moviegoer, you're like, what the hell is going on?
And no
Right.
context.
Exactly.
That was a big
and
problem.
it was cool for me, who understands, okay, that's
Yes.
Darkseid.
Yes.
I know it, and I know the reference. And even I was a little confused when Flash showed up. The time
I
travel.
didn't even know it
I
was
didn't
Flash.
recognize it.
Exactly.
So even I had a little bit of a problem. So
Yeah.
while I love what he did, I understand why other people didn't.
Yeah.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get why. So they made a few mistakes, but I think now they're kind of. I think they're trying, and also the other thing is that they stopped trying to be like Marvel.
That was a very good movie. Yeah.
They stopped trying to make everything connected,
Yeah.
and they're going with, okay, let's just make standalone movies and make them really good. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, they've now decided to very softly
Yeah.
reboot Wonder Woman.
Yes, and they're kind of like bringing down some of those connections. So the connections are not going to be that strong,
Yeah.
and focus on the story, the movie itself.
Okay. And another attempt by another studio was the Dark Universe.
Yeah,
Universal's attempt of trying to bring in all the monster characters from their library.
it's a good idea.
It was a good idea, but then poorly executed.
Yeah.
Actually, to be honest with you, I didn't have a problem with, was it Lord of Darkness or what was the
The
Dracula
Mummy.
movie? No, the Dracula movie.
Dracula Untold.
Dracula.
It was all right.
I actually did enjoy that movie. I really don't understand why people felt so bad about it, but
The Mummy.
Mummy was
Okay.
disaster.
Okay.
I mean,
I kind of had fun with it, but I can understand why, it didn't work for everyone.
it didn't work for me.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
see, the Mummy in its various forms, the only Mummy I can remember and probably will remember till the day I die.
The Brandon Fraser.
Exactly.
It's still fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was hilarious. I'm sure it's like me watching Misfits of Science today as opposed to me watching Misfits of Science when I was 10 years old. I'll be like choking on my words later on. But,
It
there
had a
was
sense
something
of-
that
yeah.
was there that I couldn't find in this. And I feel that's something that a lot of these guys who are trying to mimic the MCU are going for the wrong way,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you said. So
They're trying to do too many things in the beginning. I think the first thing they need to do is get the characters established.
yeah.
Do like a solid movie where you have establish the hero, and then move on from there.
And we also spoke at the beginning of how the movies have now spun off into into TV shows,
Yeah.
etc. Again, varying degrees of success. We'll talk about Marvel TV and Marvel Studios and the beef there in another episode.
Okay.
But I do want to touch on quickly on the various shows that have spun off. We had Agents of Shield, then you had the Hulu shows, which is Cloak and Dagger, and then of course you had the Freeform show, which is the Runaways, and all these other shows that have
And then
come out.
the Netflix stuff.
Then the Netflix stuff, lovely stuff. Daredevil, we had Luke Cage, we had Iron Fist, we had Jessica Jones, The Defenders. Unfortunately, Netflix and Disney had that
Yeah.
whole feud and so on and so forth. But at the end of it all, looking at it 11 years down the road, what are you walking away with?
Well, I mean, it's a really good time to be a fan of, these movies. We are
Good
getting
time to
so
be a geek.
much. Yeah, it's a really great time. I mean, we are getting so much.
Mm.
You know, back then, 10 years ago, we are
Mm.
getting like one comic book movie per year,
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
yeah.
But now you're at this place where you're getting 3-4 movies and like another 5 TV shows.
See, why I asked that question was, remember something that, famous director, I'm not going to use his name,
Okay.
out of respect, but he said superhero fatigue
Okay.
is a thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it a thing?
Well, if you look at the market, no. They're making money. As long as you make good movies, people will watch them.
So that isn't really a thing.
I
then,
don't
per
think
se.
it's an issue. And I think the fans are really excited. And now we are going to, in the future, what they have announced, we are going to go into like some, really crazy territory, right? We're going to see some stuff we haven't seen before.
So
And,
do you feel like 5 years down the line, they'll run out of ideas, or no, they'll just find ways to.
I don't think so. I mean, comics are, you have like, what, 70 years of comic books, right?
Yeah.
To draw from.
Um,
And also, I'm sure people will come up with new original stuff as well, that are maybe not even based on comic books. So I don't think that will be an issue.
Yeah.
I think, as long as, like I said before, as long as they make good movies, I think people will watch them.
Cool. Well, there's a lot more we can talk about, but we are short on time. We will continue this discussion later. But for this particular episode, that's pretty much it. In the next episode, we're going to look at how the MCU progresses forward, the announcement of the Phase 4 movies and various other things, and also various other shows and other comic book adaptations, not just in movies but TV shows as well. We'll quickly talk about that in episode 2. Till then, I hope you guys enjoyed this particular episode, and we'll catch you in the next one. This is The Final Cut with Critical V, right here on Geek TV.
Due to security concerns, tickets will be limited this year. Sign up to get notified when they go on sale. Once they are sold out, that's it. Visit www.lankacomiccon.lk/get-notified.